In the small, sun-dusted town of Goma, nestled between gentle hills and winding rivers, a child was born. Her back bent in an unusual curve that the people quickly whispered was not natural. Her name was Lami. But from the moment she cried her first after birth, it seemed nothing good wanted to stay with her. Her parents looked at her twisted back and sighed heavily. Her siblings, strong, beautiful, upright, grew up showered with praise, clothes, and affection. Lami was always the first to be blamed for any wrong, and never the one chosen for anything joyful. At school, children called her Azumbe, tortoiseback, mocking her slow gait and hunched figure. At home, her siblings laughed behind her back, and her parents treated her like a shadow. They sent her on errands that could break bones or cost lives. But Lami never complained. She just bowed lower, walked slower, and returned alive. Few years passed, her both sisters already married. She now lives as though a maid in her father's house. No one in Goma sees something good coming out of Lami. One Harmattan evening, her mother sent her to deliver herbs to a widow far away in the neighboring Bassa town. The road was thick with dust and the call of imminent danger, but Lami pressed forward. Near the bend of the road, she heard a weak cry, a child's cry. She dropped the herbs and rushed into the bushes. There, caught under a fallen log and crying in pain, was a little boy not more than 8 years old. His leg was bleeding, and his breathing was shallow. Without thinking of her back, without fear, Lami lifted the log with all her might and pulled the boy out. The boy, gripped in fear, told her that people were after him, that he was kidnapped and managed to escape, that they would be after him, finding out he's no longer where he was locked. So Lami tore part of her dress, tied his wound, and carried him on her back, all the way to the main road, where she flagged down a passing van. Inside the van was Ike, a young man visiting from the city. When he saw her struggling with the child on her crooked back, sweat and dust covering her face, his heart melted. He stopped and helped. It happened that Ik was also going to the neighboring town Bassa, where the little boy said he was kidnapped from. Getting to Bassa town, the family of the little boy kidnapped, whose name is Jerry, in anguish, mourning, depression. Worried on seeing a van drove in, they all looked as one, tired of sympathizers. All they want is their little boy Jerry. As Ik came down straight to the passenger's door and opened it, seeing a hunchback backing out from the car, Jerry's family stares in concern. And what came next was their missing boy. They all jumped in jubilation as the neighbors all came out to celebrate the miraculous return of their son, Jerry. Jerry told his parents how Lami saved him and Ek being of help in bringing him home. Jerry's father asked for her name. She only said, Lami, and Ik also introduced himself too. Please, Jerry needs urgent attention on his leg, Lami said. Jerry's father immediately took Jerry to a traditional orthopedist in Bassa town. Lami continued her mother's errands. On her way back from the errand, so tired because this time she has to trek back to Goma town. On her way, a man called Mr. Jude, well known in Bassa town, was driving, and a well-pronounced physical posture of Lami drew his attention. He stopped and said, "Hello, young lady, greetings to you." "Are you Lami?" Mr. Jude asked. Lami was shocked and in her thoughts, no one has ever greeted me this way. Because I know no one here, how come he knows me? She nodded. Hop in, let me drop you. In her entire life, she hasn't been offered such a gesture. Lami, lost in thoughts and regaining from her thoughts, said thank you very much and entered the car. How do you know my name? Lami asked. Through my younger brother, Ik. Oh, Ik, that was the young man that helped us down to Bassa. "He's your brother?" Lamy asked. Mr. Jude answered yes. "He told me how you rescued a little boy, and he described you. I guess you matched the description he gave me." In hearing this, Lamy's mood changed. Mr. Jude noticed and told her immediately, "You are such an angel, beautiful in and out." Lamy's face brightened again. Again, this is the first time in her entire life beautiful is attributed to gestures directed to her. "I was actually going to Goma for an appointment," Mr. Jude said. And when they got to Goma town, he dropped her at the front of her father's house, which sparked a surprise to her neighbors. Mr. Jude promised to see her again as they wave each other smiling. Now, Ike visited his elder brother Jude because of a particular problem Jude had. His family has been sorting ways to solve the problem. Jude, in his youthful age, was dating Miriam, who happened to be a daughter of a water god's. He broke up with her in an unpleasant manner. This provoked Miriam's mother to curse Jude. No woman will ever stay with him. If at all, any woman must stay. She will not be a complete or normal woman. Mr. Jude remembered the curse and how he has gone through broken marriages. His story is a song on the lips of the people of Bassa. No woman wants to be with him anymore. He beckons on his younger brother and said, "Ever since you told me about Lamy, my heart has never stopped singing that name, and I believe so. She will stay with me." Ike replied, "The curse is not going to work nor affect her like others because of her condition." "I thought of that too, but my feeling sees beyond that. I can't just explain it." "Then let's go for her," said Ike. Days passed. Mr. Jude and IK visited Lamy's parents and made their intentions known. At first, Lamy's parents said, "Our daughters are all married." "Including Lamy?" Mr. Jude asked. But they replied, "She isn't a woman, not to talk of being a wife. Gentle men, I want the best for your family. Just go elsewhere. You will find a better wife, not this Azu, B." Mr. Jude insists that she's the one he wants to marry. "Just give us her dowry and then you can go with her." Mr. Jude dropped a huge sum of money and gifts with gratitude and with something else in his eyes: love. They left with Lamy, who doesn't have say of her own. Lamy's parent laughed out loud and said they don't believe he's marrying her as a wife, but for his annual sacrifice. At least we've made money out of her miserable life. In fact, they shouldn't bother informing us of her death because she is long dead to us. At first, the village mocked him. In Bassa town, the news was all over the town. "You want to marry that one? Is it pity or madness? Her back alone will scare your children." While some said she will still end up like others. But Mr. Jude stood firm. "I see her heart, not her hump." They wedded in a quiet ceremony. Her family didn't attend, but the joy on her face outshone any guest list. Months later, Lamy became pregnant. Jude doted on her like a queen. On the day of delivery, her labor was hard and long. The doctor wiped his brow after delivering the baby girl. But then he paused. "Something is moving," he said. Panic filled the room. But it wasn't in her womb. It was in her back. Her lifelong burden, her shame. With care and prayer, the doctors performed a delicate procedure. What they found silenced them. A second baby, fully formed, tucked inside her back, alive and whole. The hump wasn't a deformity. It was a hidden cradle. When the child was delivered, a boy with the most beautiful eyes, Lamy's back straightened for the first time in her life. The weight was gone. The curse was broken. The news spread like wildfire through Goma and Bassa town. They no longer called her Azum B, but the curse breaker. Her parents wept and begged for forgiveness. Her siblings hung their heads in shame. But Lamy, now walking tall beside her husband and two miracle children, only smiled. "What is mine," she said, "holding her babies close, will always stay with me." And in the place where her pain once lived, joy took permanent residence.